Hey everyone, this is Clarinetgamer here with another game review like I always do on Mondays. Now you maybe won't probably be speculating what game I'm going to be reviewing. Well, it's an obvious guess. It is none other than Crash Bandicoot 3. Now, this game is obviously one of my favourites in the Crash Bandicoot series. Now, I'm having a hard time deciding. Now, before I get on with the review, I'm actually going to give my question of the video. Normally, I don't actually give that question away until the end of the video, but I'm going to say it right now. What is your favourite Crash Bandicoot game and out of the entire series? But if Crash 3 or Crash 2 is one of your favourites, which one would you say is better, Crash Bandicoot 2 or Crash Bandicoot 3? Now, I'll give my opinion after the end of this review which game is better. So without further ado, I'm going to get on with my thoughts on this game. First of all, the plot. Now basically, again, it's a very good plot here. What happened like at the end of Crash Bandicoot 2 led to the events of Crash Bandicoot 3. Like at the end of Crash 2, Crash destroyed Cortex's space station using Brio's laser, and the Cortex Vortex went hurling down towards Earth, and crashed into a temple, leaving the temple in ruins, and an evil spirit was flying through the skies saying that he was free at last. And Crash, Coco and Aku Aku are just having a relaxing time outside, and when they hear that evil laugh and that spirit, Aku Aku looks up worriedly and he says, "Uka Uka is free? No, it cannot be. Evil, great evil has come." And then they all run into the house, and basically in the next scene, it's none other than, well, obviously as Aku Aku said, Uka Uka, Aku Aku's evil twin brother was freed from the Cortex Vortex destruction, and he's upset at Cortex for failing him twice, and Cortex says it was all Crash's fault that he failed twice, and said that he was lost his patience because Cortex lost all the gems and lost all the crystals from the previous games, and he said there's no other power source left on the Earth, and Uka Uka gives spares Cortex and basically introduces Dr. Nefarious Tropy, and this is his first game, and basically he made the Time Twister machine, which is actually the main area where you go to travel to levels. And basically they plan to actually travel into different parts of time, like going into the past or the future to collect crystals or gems, to make sure that they have enough power sources in order to enslave Earth. So Aku Aku then says to Crash and Coco that Uka Uka was locked away all these years ago to protect Earth from his evil deeds, and now that he was free, that he must be stopped at all costs. So Aku Aku, Coco and Crash make their way towards the Time Twister machine, and from there on out they're going to collect the crystals. And basically what happens then is that Crash and Coco collect the crystals and they collect the gems as well, fending off Cortex's henchmen, Tiny, Dingodile. Well, this was Dingodile's first game, Crash Bandicoot 3, and Entropy and Engine. And in the final battle with Cortex takes place inside the core of the Time Twister machine, and Crash defeats Cortex, and basically what happens is after Entropy's defeat, when you collect all the crystals and gems and well, mainly the gems and I'll get onto something else in a minute. But after you've collected all those, the 100% ending is that when the Time Twister machine starts to malfunction and implode, and Uka Uka is sucked into a time prison along with Cortex and Entropy, and basically the Time Twister machine is is destroyed really, and Crash, Coco, and Aku Aku just celebrating time for the Christmas season. And Aku Aku says that they were lucky to escape from the imploding Time Twister, and then Uka, Cortex, and Entropy are in the time prison, and Cortex and Entropy are turned into infants and fight over the Uka Uka, and Cortex says, "Give me the mask, with it I shall take over the world, come on!" And that's basically it, but it's a very good plot, I have to say. I mean, for the adventure games, I don't have to say it is a good plot, but it's really good. I mean, for the plot, I would give it well, it's a very basic plot and it's simple, but it's effective. So I would give it a 5 out of 5. Now, moving on, in terms of the gameplay. Now, the gameplay has improved since Crash Bandicoot 2 quite a bit, because not only like are the levels different, obviously, from like the second game, because like you use time traveling abilities, like you go to medieval levels, underwater levels, like from the 1400s and 1492, when the America was like first discovered then, and then there's also like jet ski levels as well, and like a Coco rides on the Pura, and Pura makes his first appearance in this game as well, like and the China levels, like in the 1200s, I believe that's when that time decade was, and prehistoric levels as well, and Egyptian levels, desert town levels, motorbike levels, futuristic levels as well, and honestly, like I say, in terms of the gameplay, it has improved, because I mean, not only the controls the same, but there's more moves added. Like for example, like if you defeat like all the bosses, you get these 5 moves, which will be very useful for you in the game, and those are the super belly slam. I mean, I'm not sure why that's useful. I mean, of course, it would be useful for getting like other like boxes, like the unbreakable boxes, by just power slamming it and making sure that they're far away. Like in the bonus round in one of the prehistoric levels, you have to use a body slam to get the 3 boxes that are stretched out, because you don't want to body slam out, because obviously you'll fall down the hole then. But you get the super body slam, the double jump, which is very useful to reach high places, obviously. The death tornado spin, which is very useful for jumping over large holes. The bazooka gun, where you can basically shoot like boxes that are far away from you. You can shoot nitros as well if you just want to get rid of them. If they're in your way, and also the last ability is probably the most useful one in the game, and it's called a Crash Dash, where Crash can run at a faster speed, and basically that's very useful for, and I'm going to go into this next topic right now. The gameplay is improved because there's a lot more to do, because you get Relic Challenges. And basically how those work is that like when you enter the level for the second time after you've collected the crystal, there's a floating clock that appears at the beginning of the level, and once you collect it, a clock will start ticking and saying enter in time trial, and then there's yellow boxes to collect. Like there's no one for anything, you don't lose lives. So if you fail the time trial, like if you die on the time trial, you don't lose any lives, which is a positive thing. And there's yellow boxes to collect, which are time crates, and basically like if you spin like a crate that has a two on it, it'll freeze the clock for like 2 seconds, and it'll be the same for like all the other boxes. Like 1 second, it'll freeze the clock for 1 second, and then the 3 boxes will freeze the clock for 3 seconds, and so on. But the Crash Dash ability will be very useful, especially like if you want to get higher ranked relics, like the gold relic and the platinum relic. Now you can get sapphire relics in this as well, depending on like the type of level or how you get on within the level, how fast you can do it. But the gameplay itself is just, I give it, it's really really good. I mean, it's just as good as like the second game, but it's just that a bit better because it's got much more to do in it. So all in all, I would give the gameplay 4.5 out of 5. Now, the reason why I'm not giving this a 5 out of 5 is because of personal experience with those platinum relics. Basically, because some of those platinum relics can be really hard to get, especially in like the biplane levels. And you know what I'm talking about when it comes to like, well, for those of you who have played Crash Bandicoot 3 before, you'll know what I'm talking about when it comes to the biplane levels for getting the platinum relics. But anyway, moving on to the next topic, and that's the graphics. Now, the graphics are just as good as Crash Bandicoot 2 were, but obviously, like the later PS1 games came out, because obviously in 1995 when the PS1 was first released, the games weren't really all that good looking. Not like PS3 games, obviously, but they looked quite good. I mean, there's nostalgic graphics again, I would say, for Crash Bandicoot 3, but they're much improved this time. They're more like smoothed out, depending on what you play on. Because I mean, I've played this game on like the PS1, PS2, and the PS3, but PS1, PS2's got those like choppy graphics. Like it's got like the not really smoothed out graphics, but on the PS3 you have the option, like for PS1 games to, and for PS2 games as well, depending on what model you have the option to smooth out the graphics for any PS1 or PS2 game. So I did that for Crash Bandicoot 3, and the graphics would just look so much better on the PS3, I think. Even though they're not HD graphics, obviously, that's not obviously the case. But they're smoothed out, and they're smoother. They don't have that choppy edge that they had like in the PS1 era. But if you do have a choppy edge, it's nostalgic. For graphics, I have to say, well, for the PS1 choppy bit, it's nostalgic, but it's quite choppy graphics. So I would give it a 4 out of 5. And for the smoothed out graphics, I would give 4.5 out of 5. So since I played on PS3 anyway, and since PS3 is the only console I have, I mean, I've got a PS2, like what I said before, in like my HD PVR setting up for PS2. But mainly I use PS3 for playing the PS1 games. So I'll give it 4.5 out of 5 overall. Anyway, moving on to the next category in this game, and that's the soundtrack. Now, since obviously, like in every game review I'm going to be doing, I will probably be covering the soundtrack in every game, depending if I like the soundtrack or not. If it's still repetitive or there's not really that much to say about it, then I won't bother. But the soundtrack for Crash Bandicoot 3 is brilliant. I mean, I wouldn't say it was so much better than Crash Bandicoot 2. I mean, it's just as good as Crash Bandicoot 2's. Because the music that they have in the levels like fits perfectly with the environment of the levels. Like for example, like the medieval music, that fits along well with the environment of the levels, and like the Egyptian music as well, that fits along well as well. And also the bonus levels have changed because like the main theme that for Crash Bandicoot 3, they've put like the main theme for Crash Bandicoot 3 into their bonus levels, but they're all like in their own style. For example, like the Egyptian levels should have the Crash Bandicoot 3 main theme in that kind of style, and the prehistoric levels as well, and all that, the rest of it. Apart from like the motorcycle levels, the tiger levels, and the biplane levels, they obviously don't have bonus rounds. Or death routes, which is what I'm going to talk about, and gem paths. Death routes and gem paths have like the music for there is obviously changed compared to Crash Bandicoot 2, because it has its own soundtrack again, like the bonus levels. It's not the main theme though, obviously. It's a more like tense soundtrack than Crash Bandicoot 2. Because like when you go on to like a level, it's like it shows you, oh, this is tense, you might die in this bit, etc. It's actually just increasing the tension, I think, of actually doing the death paths, because they are very hard to complete. And yeah, the music is very tense in the death paths, and the music that they do for the bosses is just very well made and put together. And honestly, I could say the soundtrack is just perfect. I would give it 5 out of 5. There's nothing wrong with it. My favourite soundtrack, or my favourite track, has to be the Egyptian levels. And that's another question I'm going to put down as well, or just saying here. What's your favourite soundtrack from Crash Bandicoot 3? Like Egyptian levels, boss levels, whatever. But my favourite boss theme has to be Cortex's theme, or Dingodale's theme. I mean, it's a toss-up between the Cortex and Dingodile. But I have to say Cortex. But anyway, my overall thoughts on Crash Bandicoot 3, it is an awesome game. It really is awesome. Now, I'm going to give my my overall thoughts on which game is better between Crash Bandicoot 2 and Crash Bandicoot 3. Now, I believe Crash Bandicoot 3 is the better game, purely because there's so much to do. The soundtrack is just as good. The graphics have that kind of like smooth edge like the rest of them, like when you play on the PS3. And also, I could just say the gameplay is just that a bit better. That's how it just beats it, just by the gameplay, I think. So I have to say Crash Bandicoot 3 is the better game. So Crash Bandicoot 3, I have to say overall is my favourite platforming one, like out of the adventure ones. But anyway, my overall rating of this game out of 10, I would give it. It's hard to decide actually what we give this. I would give it a 10 out of 10 actually. It's a brilliant game, and I don't really think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, it can have its glitches sometimes, but that still doesn't stop me from giving it a 10 out of 10. I think it's an awesome game, and it's good for nostalgia, and I think that's all I really have to say really about this review. I mean, it's an awesome game, and I recommend, like, for those of you who haven't played the Crash Bandicoot games before that are watching this, but I'm pretty sure all of you have. If you've played the Crash Bandicoot games before, then it's awesome. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my review for Crash Bandicoot 3. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below for your thoughts on Crash Bandicoot 3 and for the questions that I said, and I'll remind you. Which game do you like better between Crash Bandicoot 2 and 3? And which music, what music track is your favourite in Crash Bandicoot 3? So comment down below for those things, and subscribe for more gaming reviews. So until then, this is Clarinetgamer here signing off, and I'll see you next time when I do my next gaming review next Monday. Till then, I'll see you later, and take care. Goodbye.